Welcome to Comic Books and Chill, the home of the Stats Bros. I'm Mike, chilling with Chris.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back. We appreciate you tuning in. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy more comic book content.
Today we have a special treat. Finally, a Star Wars artist in the house.
Yeah.
Ray Anthony Height.
Mike, I am hyped. Dr. Aphra is one of my favorite comic book characters. I am excited to have Mr. Height in studio with us today.
But before we talk to Ray, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and please comment.
Let's get started.
All right. Our next guest is here with us for the first time, man. Ray Anthony Height is in the house. What's up, Ray?
Welcome, Ray.
What's up, Chris, Mike? You know what? It's awesome to be here. Since you guys reached out to me, I was like, okay, I know these cats. This is going to be fun.
Let's get started. Okay. So let's start from the beginning real quick.
Okay.
So you're from LA, and that's what I'm excited about. We have a triad of Angelinos in the house right now. So this is a complete West Side show. All right.
Yeah.
All day, every day. Okay. So to start here, what part of LA you from?
Born and raised in Compton.
Born and raised. Okay.
Like the song said.
Born and raised in Compton. Yeah.
All right. So you're 80s kid, 90s
Yes.
kid. So you grew up in Compton.
Yes.
In the 80s. Comic book artist. Okay. Were you collecting comics in the 80s?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know we talked very briefly about it, but we talked about the Bronze Age and kind of coming up during that time. And I feel like as a creator, a lot of us in this age group, we were raised on the Bronze Age to create new stuff for this age. You know what I mean? And to kind of like reflect all that stuff, it's our foundation. And if you want to go back further, you can go back further to that, Silver Age, all that stuff. But here's the thing, it's in us.
I'm from LA. I was born in Gardena. I lived all over. Moms went to Manual Arts. Lots of my family went to Fremont High. Lived in the hundreds all the way down to the 40s, the 50s. Lived in Mid-City. Lived everywhere. Now I'm in the A18. Growing up in the 80s, I'm an 80s kid. A lot of the cats in my neighborhood, we was either collecting shoes, playing ball,
right, jerseys,
football, stuff like that. We all watch cartoons, but the comic element, the getting the whether it's going to a comic book shop or going to 7-Eleven, whatever.
The grocery store.
Where were you getting your books?
Oh, yes.
Where were you getting your books? Did you have a comic book shop back? Tell us about
that. So check this out. All right. It's going to be fun for you, Mike, because it's going to be a little crossover in our paths of life. So I really started collecting comics. For me, it was the cartoons, right? I grew up watching those old reruns of the 60s Spider-Man, here comes a Spider-Man, I watched those. And for me, Spidey was always a cartoon character until my cousin introduced me to comics. And that was probably about, I don't know, like 10 years old. I was, 10 years old, and he gave me a stack of John Buscema Conans. Luke Cage and Iron Fist, Spider-Man and Iron Fist, that good stuff like we was talking about, right? That, the foundation. And I'm like, oh man, Spider-Man is a comic book character. This is, and you get into it, and, I already was drawing, and growing up in the 80s and all that kind of stuff, you kind of know what the streets was like here in LA. So my cousin, and I say this damn near every interview, my cousin has this phrase that says, comics saved our lives.
I agree. Shoot.
Yeah. And I tell people that again today because it's facts. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And I owe so much of who I am today from comics. You know what I mean? And so I moved over to that because I was Thundercats and so
Panther with the nunchucks.
Yeah.
With the nunchucks, right?
Panther was black. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then you get a little older and you were like, man, my granddad from the Cosby Show sounded like he got chucks. Because it's the same dude.
Right.
So I don't know. That was my whole thing. It was either going to be animation or it was going to be comics. So I would go to 7-Eleven. That was where my spot was. 7-Eleven, that was on Avalon.
Okay. Avalon and Carson. I know where that's at.
Yeah. So I used to go there because it was the pool was at Victoria Park over there. And so I would go and get my comics from there. Now here, Mike, is where we cross over. You grew up in Gardena, right?
That's where I was born, man.
Okay.
Gardena Memorial Hospital. It's not even there anymore.
My pops delivered mail in Gardena for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yes. And he retired from the post office, Gardena Post Office. So you know where that is. You know. That being said, Jeffrey's Comics.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Landmark status.
Yeah. Landmark. Right. Me and my friends knew Jeffrey. We knew his whole family.
Oh, nice.
My father delivered mail to Jeffrey. So one day he gave me a surprise. He was like, "I'm gonna take you to this spot."
What?
Right. And
That's
he took
cool.
me to Jeffrey's Comics, and I stayed in there like it was like going to Mecca. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it was incredible. And he stayed in the car because he wanted me to kind of have my thing.
That's
rad.
While
I was doing my thing and I was, in there and he was chilling. And I think he was just, overjoyed that he contributed to this thing and he noticed, He noticed I loved these things. I was drawing, I was doing this stuff. So, but yeah, and I forged a lot of long-lasting friendships from Jeffrey's Comics to this day.
So Ray, can we talk about how you got into the comic book industry? Can you please tell us about how you got your first gig in comics?
Okay, first gig in comics. Now I could tell you the beautiful, fanciful side of it, right? Or I can tell you, overnight 25 years success coming, right? So honestly, I was doing comics before I got into Marvel in DC. So me and a group of my friends, shout out to them, they're out there. I could name drop, but that's all good. They're not like big industry people, but they're my family. You know what I mean? So, and we produced our own comics together at 19. 19
That's
years
cool.
old,
Hell yeah.
and it was a group of us. And so I've been doing it myself for a long time.
Do you still have some of the like the art from those days? And keeping
you know what? I do. I actually posted some when I had my own personal Twitter. I posted some of that. You can find it somewhere. I'll post it because I don't mind revisiting when my work was trash. I don't mind doing that because I can look back and say, man, I really have come a long way.
Hell yeah.
But the feelings that those things evoke is like, man, that was pure love. I wasn't getting paid. I'm looking at, the Image Cats in 92, you know what I mean? And we're all thinking, Carter Randolph has this thing like, he basically was like, yeah, I got into comics to be the superstar. That didn't happen. right? But we got into, you kind of get into that because back in those days, in the late 80s and 90s, the Turtles were created and Cerebus and Bone and the indie. So I was hardcore on the indie market too, because that was the other thing. The way I grew up, you guys, is like, I don't wait for people. I do it myself.
Right.
If you're sitting there and you're waiting for, the call from Marvel or the call from DC or whatever, you might be waiting a long time. That's not everybody's story. But I was mostly creating my own stuff. Like me and my friends, we actually created a tabletop like game system.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Like, so remember when Marvel had that?
Yep.
They had like the role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We created our own.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Like we were doing some serious stuff. You know what I mean? We were doing it for fun.
Yep.
We weren't necessarily trying to monetize it, but it was like, okay, we see what they're doing and we're taking a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and we're making our own thing and we would have a good time kind of doing that. So that's the story. My first actual comic was I was 19 years old, Ashcan with a group of friends. It was an anthology.
Okay.
Right? But I never stopped because I want to create my own stuff. My dream was, for the most part, really to do both. To work on, Spider-Man, which is was my thing.
Agreed.
He's my favorite, or to work on the Teen Titans or something like that, right?
That'd have been cool.
I haven't done that yet. I've drawn Spidey a lot, but I haven't done any Teen Titans yet. I did draw Constantine, but we'll get to that some other time.
Oh, Constantine.
So for me, the Marvel, my break-in story didn't happen until I was like 30 years old. Yeah. But I was doing comics and I was doing my 9 to 5 and life stuff or whatever. But
so how did that happen? So of the big two, Marvel was the first gig of the big two.
They were the first and have been pretty steady in my career for the last 18 years, since 2000, end of 2007, beginning of 2008.
So explain that the entryway into that, because Marvel, I feel that it's a Marvel world and everybody's living in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so explain how you got into that world.
Well, Mike, I want to address that first. Here's the thing I can't abide. When you hear a lot of these bitter actors and directors or whatever, the first thing they want to say, oh yeah, well, the Marvel movies and the Marvel movies. But then the next thing out of your mouth is, I'm going to mention Black Adam. That's not a Marvel movie.
Right.
Everything is not a Marvel movie. I do understand it is the 3,000-pound gorilla. I do get it. But every comic book movie ain't a Marvel movie. Check your facts. I was doing independent work for a while. My actual start into anything big publisher, was actually Image. And that was, Jay Ferber gave me a job working with him on Noble Causes. So that was my first step. So I was doing a bunch of different things, indie stuff. And I definitely was building my thing in the indie. But I was talking to CB Cebulski off and on, because my friends in the Deviant Art group and the Wizard message board group, we all come up together. So, Mark Brooks and Carter Randolph and, as a matter of fact, I think I was talking to Sanford Green, all these people, we all kind of came up, in the same area. That being said, all the time, I'm still doing indie work. And one person I was doing indie work with is Kevin Greavious, right? So, and Kevin was doing stuff, just getting into Marvel, and he got Spider-Man Family, so he gives me a call, and if you met Kevin or talked to Kevin, he's like, there you go. So, I mean, me and Kevin, that's my dude. But he's like, you want to do this Marvel gig? And Kevin was like, so I was like, yeah, I want to do it. It'd be my first gig. I tried a couple times and gotten some feedback and had some good back and forth with a few editors, but nothing popped. But this was the thing that popped, and Kevin brought me in. Right, and then my first official Marvel thing was Spider-Man Family #8, and it's I don't know if you guys can see in the back, but
we can see it,
yeah. So that's my official, right?
And Spider-Man was your number one on top.
Exactly,
it's my
that's
number
dope.
one.
Okay, can I say something real quick about just that story real quick?
Okay,
because first off, you came in and you was like, I'm doing it myself. So you already got self-determination, even though you want to gain entry into Marvel or DC or whatever. You say, I'm not waiting on them, I'm about to do it, right?
Yeah.
And your first gig in Marvel is your number one character. Like to me, that I think that's a reward for you having faith in yourself and you not waiting. That's just my comment on all that. Because I just feel like the fact that you said that Spider-Man was your number one earlier and your first gig was Spider-Man, but you had this philosophy that I'm not going to wait, and you're still mired in independent work where you get a higher percentage of whatever sold and all of that, plus you own the stuff. So all of the business acumen is there. And then your first entryway is through somebody you came up with, and you got your number one character. That's amazing.
It's, it is pretty shocking. A friend of mine had gotten that particular title first. Terrell Bobbitt, he's no longer doing comics anymore. He's a director now. It's big stuff. But, so he did, I think, the issue or an issue or two before me. And so that was the other thing. It was just the right time, right? But that's the thing. That's how things work. So before all this happened, I used to say, this is crazy. So I used to say, you know what? I just want to get in there. I don't care if they give me Howard the Duck, right?
Right.
And do y'all know that I have drawn Howard the Duck my first year two, and it was like Spider-Man and Howard the Duck.
Oh,
wow.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
Again, it's like I'm verbalizing this, and it's coming to reality, right? I want to verbalize about 60 meal tickets. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would be nice.
I'll take $1 million right now. Let's go.
Right.
So let's continue this conversation about mainstream comics. It's comforting to know that you have this our independent mind, you know, in this world where people feel like you have to be a part of the big two, right? Where that's where the popularity is at. But talking about mainstream comics specifically, you know, there's some brothers speaking around, like we were talking about Ken Lashley, Ryan Benjamin, Dexter Vines, you know, the list goes on and on. There's not a lot there, but we can't say there's not at all, right? So sprinkled is the right adjective I like to use. Okay, but being a freelance artist, it has its own challenges as well. We interview lots of artists, and there's the rigors of just being on your own. But what kind of challenges do you encounter as a person of color, more particularly a black man drawing comics, because that's traditionally a white space. So gaining entry in that white space, what are some of the challenges that you see in your encounter that you're willing to share?
Oh, I like that last little bit that I'm willing to share. I could keep it a buck. I mean, you know, and tell you that it's okay. So now we're getting real serious. Here's facts. I come up and people see my face, you know, especially in the indie circuit. Oh, okay, you know, you're a brother like us. You know, you're trying to do things in this because, you know, like F Marvel and DC, the big two, and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to do it because maybe they had some doors shut in their face, right? And of course, that kind of breeds a little bit of bitterness or whatever that is. Now, my motto is no one's coming, so do it yourself, right? Like I illustrated. But I don't hold grudges. That's one thing I don't do it. You know, I mean, I can sit here and say all the things that have happened, because I don't believe in a perfect situation or perfect people. And nothing for nothing, but Marvel itself has no feelings. It's not a living, breathing thing. Right? So you can say F Marvel or whatever it is. Sure, it doesn't care what you say about it because it's not a lie. It has no feelings. But there are good people there that work at DC, at Image, or whatever. They're real people. Get to know those people.
Right? Get
to figure that out. And if somebody is standing in your way, and you know it's a situation where you feel like you're being discriminated against, you feel like there's some gatekeeping involved, or whatever, point that out and blame that person, because that's the problem. That he, she, you know, whoever, that they're the problem, not the company itself. If I'm dealing with somebody who is doing things in a way that I find disagreeable, then I will forget you. I don't hold grudges, but I don't forget, and I won't mess with you no more. And then I'm cool. And I don't have to tell people, unless it's a friend of mine who's dealing with that particular person, and I'll be like, yo, let me pull you aside and give you a chit chat. You do with this information what you want, but this is my experience, right? And I take the same thing. Somebody else, I have good friends. They're like, oh, you working with so-and-so? Let me pull you aside and tell you this is what happened to me. Right? So there is kind of like an inner working network. We all share information. You know, we're all doing these different things. But my goal in life, my dream, my career is all about comics. The people I meet, whether they are gatekeeping or whatever, and I've been blessed because my gatekeeping situations have been minimal if I was aware of them, and the ones that I'm not aware of, I don't need them.
Ray, like I mentioned, Dr. Aphra is one of my favorite new Star Wars characters. I had to bring it back.
I love an Aphra fan.
Let's talk about Aphra.
I have every single issue. It's on my pull list. I love the character. So I would like to ask you a Star Wars related question.
Oh, I'm going to fail, but go ahead.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a fan are you of Star Wars?
So I don't know if you guys know how I even got on that.
No.
Got into Star Wars.
No, please.
That is an awesome story, and I'm probably going to tell it as long as I can. So, you know, this is during the George Floyd situation, and I've been pretty diplomatic by the things I say online for many years. But that situation really made me want to say something. And I decided I'm going to step outside my comfort zone, and I'm going to, you know, say my piece, you know, and based on the things I know personally, I wasn't calling out any names or whatever. And I'm seeing all these companies, all these publishers, Marvel included, and, you know, I love them. They have definitely been in my corner. But, you know, it's kind of like calling your family out when they're doing wrong, right?
Right.
So I said, well, they released a statement, so did DC, so and because it was a whole thing about the diversity, and you guys are hugging up on us, colored folks. You know what I mean? You're trying to make friends because all this absolutely heinous stuff is happening right here. And well, guess what? Don't talk about it, be about it. And that's what I said. I was like, hey, if you want to help more Black folks and marginalized people, it's great. You put out a book every now and then, oh, hey, look at all these Black folks. And then the other 11 months out of the year, it's the same old,
same old,
right?
Yeah.
But you made this big thing, and you're giving us a hug, and you're crying on our shoulders with us. And then, the tears dry up on February 28th or whatever the situation is. Right? and that's the deal, right? So I was really talking about that. I was like, if you really want to do it, you need to have more people of color. You need to have more LGBTQ. You need to put them in spaces where they can make decisions. You know what I mean? Because nothing for nothing, but the freelancers, we're interchangeable.
Right.
You know what I mean? The job, Marvel's job and our job when we get hired by them is to continue their IP.
Exactly.
Right. That's really it. You're not going to get anything important or anything substantial or whatever. You're never going to be at Marvel or DC or whatever. The creators are never going to be bigger than the characters, and they make it that way.
Right.
Right. You got to go do your own thing. You got to go to Image. You got to, whatever, and do it there. But that being said, when I said that, and I got people asking, "Oh, what you gonna do at DC? What you gonna, So I put up this thing. Okay, well, if I was at DC, here's what I would do. Boom, 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 boom. And so people all on Twitter was like, "Oh yeah, I can see Ray doing this at DC. I can see, it was getting pretty huge." And then I told a story about Jim Lee on there, and I can't remember what context it was. Maybe it had to do with meeting people or whatever it was. And the story was that when I was, a scrub trying to get in at San Diego Comic-Con, I was in line and I had my pages sitting out as I'm waiting to get portfolio review. I can't even remember where. And this was, definitely in the 90s, maybe mid-90s or something like that. And Jim Lee was kind of walking quickly through the hall, and he was like right past like where the line of the people were. Now, again, I had myself just checking my own work, and Jim stopped and was like, "Oh yeah, that's good,"
Yeah, that's cool.
Right? So I told this story on Twitter, and Jim Lee remembered and started following me, and we started talking.
That's very cool.
Right? But all the while, this is how Star Wars comes into play. Mike Seglain, who is at Lucasfilm, and kind of runs the whole thing, popped up on Twitter publicly and was like, I know, and Mike used to be over at DC. So he goes, "Yeah, I know you're talking about the whole DC thing, whatever, but what do you think about working on Star Wars?"
Yeah, that's cool.
I have a cousin. His name is Savoy. If you're out there and you hear this, man, I just shouted you out. He loves him some Star Wars. And I mean, serious. He is the most
shout out to Savoy.
Yeah, shout out to Savoy, man.
What's up?
So, inside, like, I like Star Wars, but compared to him, I might as well have not known anything about it. You know what I mean? So I can't really call myself a serious fan. But after that, I was like, first of all, it's Star Wars. Right. I'd be a fool, right? And if I said no to Star Wars, I probably would never talk to my cousin again. He would never speak to me again, right? So, and I know the significance. I know this. So, of course, I was excited. And I was like, yes. And then, you kind of get invited to the big show. Now, at the same time, one of my favorite editors, Mark Paniccia, over at Marvel, was also over at Star Wars. And I worked with Mark before.
Okay.
Right? You see how the serendipitous nature?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
And it was back and forth. And I want to say, so Elizabeth Bray, who was over at IDW, they were working with Star Wars properties too. So we had this whole thing like portfolio day. And then I was talking to Elizabeth Bray about Star Wars over there, right? So it's Marvel, it's IDW, it's Lucasfilm, all talking to me at the same time. And then after that, I got introduced to Alyssa and that team and Tom Groneman. And, after reading Alyssa's first script for that, because, I was supposed to do 5 issues. I was supposed to do 6 through 11 or something like that. So I started, and I gave me covers. I'd never done, the only cover I had done for Marvel at that point was Prowler, hip hop cover.
Okay.
Right? And I hadn't done another cover. I think I've done 3 covers for Star Wars now. And they're all like exclusive.
But you weren't a huge fan, so you don't like, Empire Strikes Back and stuff like that?
They wanted that. They didn't want somebody that had all of this expectation.
Okay.
They wanted somebody like me who enjoyed it, but wasn't a ravenous fan.
Okay. That's a philosophy. Okay, so let's talk about your methodology for a minute, like how you work, your workflow. Are you digital? Are you digital these days, or do you still draw traditionally?
Both.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the integration of both.
Cintiq.
I would pan and show you my Cintiq right now, but it's like right here. I started on the Cintiq. That was like 13 inches, my first Cintiq.
So when did you make that? When did you make that transition over?
Well, I was kind of doing a little bit of it when Photoshop, and then I had the regular tablet.
Okay.
That no screen, just drawing on the tablet. So I was kind of dabbling in that a little bit, but that wasn't my main thing. I think I made the huge leap. I was still in Palmdale, so let's call that like.
Shout out to Palmdale.
Right.
Shout out to Palmdale. Me and my family spent 12 years there, and you can thank Kevin Grievous for that one too. So I want to say I started using the Cintiq 2012.
Okay, so it's been a minute. Okay.
So, but I wanted to work up to it because back then it was a very expensive piece of equipment. A lot of the cats that I knew that was using it, I spent $2K on it. I was like, I ain't got that kind of money to drop on that. So I got one, and I'm getting regular income or whatever. And I was like, and my wife's telling me like, go and get it. I have this thing where I feel like I need to earn it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I hadn't felt like I had earned that amount to spend on a piece of equipment. But then I got into the point where I was doing different things. I was regularly working in Marvel. I was like, you know what? Let me just go and get one. So I got a small one. It was like $800. And that carried me a long time. I was like, oh man, this is revolutionary right here.
So you ink your own stuff with this, because that gives you like the ability to do all your things all
That's it. So Mike, this is what I do. I do all my layouts, all that stuff traditional. I got a little 8.5 by 11. I do my layouts. They're very small, and then I blow them up. Once I get my pencils and all that stuff to a certain point, I scan it in, and I scan it in like 600 DPI.
Okay.
And then I ink in Clip Studio Paint, which I have used since it came out, since it was Manga Studio. So I've used that for a long time. And I was doing that with the tablet. So that's how long I've been, rocking with that.
So you've been doing it.
Yeah.
I've been doing it. I mean, I don't believe so. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
The AI deal.
Oh.
Okay, yeah.
Right? I fear no technology. You know what I mean? Like, it's never gonna take the place of what we do.
Right.
It just isn't. So your best bet is to work with it.
So one more question about I ask this question a lot about with pencilers. How long it takes to do a page or like an issue? Like on average, I know there's. Or do you work chronologically? Do you pick your favorite moments first? Like, how you approaching all that?
I can give you a good answer, and I can lie my ass off.
A page a day.
Well, that's the standard. I remember working up to the point of being able to do a page a day, and that was cool. And then I was able to do it. I mean, there was a point in my career early on where I could do 3 pages a day, but I wasn't sleeping much.
Right.
Right. And that's the trade-off. You know what I mean? Like, I could do a bunch of stuff. But on average, if I'm doing right and I'm not BSing or procrastinating or responsibilities outside of my career don't pop up, I could pencil and ink a page a day in about, not a page a day, a day and a half. I can pencil and ink in a day and a half.
Okay.
And that is start to finish with no procrastination, with the layouts already done. So you see how all these other things have to line up first. If my layouts are done and they're tight, penciling and inking, snap, easy, fun, right? But let's say I do a loose layout and I try to do tight pencils, whatever, I'm thinking too much.
Right.
And that slows you down. And I'm like, nah, that's why the layouts for me, and anybody who's ever seen me, if you guys see me out somewhere and like, hey, Ray, let me see your layout. And everybody who sees my layouts like, these are pencils. They aren't layouts. But to me, they're layouts. They have enough information in there that I need to really, go ham on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if they don't have it, I'm gonna take a break. You know what I mean? It's that kind of situation. So that's what it typically takes.
Rushmore question for you. I love these types of questions. So we're talking about comic book pencilers. Who would you put on your comic book penciler Mount Rushmore?
Ooh, here's a good information coming this way. Let's
Wow.
go.
And here I was thinking you was going to ask me the hip hop question. This is harder.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate you.
If you need to expand it to a top 5, whatever you need to do to not feel bad, but we just want to know your top head.
No, this is your opinion, man.
Right. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not fact.
Yeah.
It's not fact. But the difficulty is it changes.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Right? It changes.
So how you feeling right now?
Right
today?
now, there are some constants. Like Alan Davis is a constant.
Yeah.
Okay. Alan Davis.
Alan Davis is a constant as far as pencilers go. I don't want to say he's underrated, but he definitely doesn't get the love
I
that
agree.
he truly deserves. Like he should be in there with the Neil Adamses. You know what I mean? Alex Toth is a constant, and I want to shout out to Dennis Cowan.
Okay. Dennis Cowan, shout out.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Dennis, he's in there. He's
Okay, so that's 3.
He's in there.
Wow. Alex Toth.
Yeah.
Okay, that people don't really think that's underrated. You talking about underrated now?
Yeah, for sure.
People don't bring up him.
He's an artist.
He's dope as hell.
Right, but that's the thing. The composition, the economy of line, and all of the greats like Jean-Paul Leon, rest in peace.
Right.
Was definitely one of these cats that's like Toth, right? So, but it's there. If you want like a masterclass on storytelling and spotting blacks and stuff like that and contrast, you can't do much better than Toth.
So you got Alan Davis.
Yeah,
Okay.
and really Toth. Dennis is probably in the top 6 because
Okay. All right. So we got 2 then. So we got Alan Davis and Toth. Toth.
And of course Dennis, if he ever runs across this, he knows like the people that I'm talking about. He definitely be like, oh, I get you. I'll feel you. No on that. But Neil Adams. Okay.
Yeah.
Neil Adams.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts about Neil Adams? Because everybody has their own like unique Neil Adams story or experience, whatever. But as a comic book creator, seeing a comic book creator, why would you put him in your Mount Rushmore?
Well, okay. So there's things as an artist, and there's things as a comic creator in our community. And people do have mixed feelings about Neil. And I know people personally have told me stories. And I haven't seen anything, but I trust them, and I know, talking to anybody, some of these things are true. But as far as like his skill as an illustrator, excellent storytelling. He kind of revolutionized the way we tell stories. Again, there's a time before Neil and a time after Neil, right?
For real.
Yeah, and you can see, the Neil neophytes.
Yes.
Or shall I say acolytes.
Acolytes.
Yeah. So, because I was huge on continuity.
Right.
Armor, Megalith. That was like, again, I'm an indie cat too, so I love that. But as what he's done for us as creators, that's something that is even greater than his artistic talent. Because he made sure we got paid. The way he fought for the Superman creators. You know what I mean? Like, when you got folks in your corner, it's not just about him.
Right.
It's about us. Right? So, and he was riding for it. So
rest in peace, Neil Adams, man.
Yep.
Here's a fourth.
So here's a constant. And of course, all of these brilliant illustrators the order is not, by category, right? Like who's at the top. But John Buscema.
Right.
Ooh, yeah.
John Buscema is a constant. And if you look at, even though I'm heavily influenced by manga and anime, if you look at some of the things I do, you're gonna see a lot of Buscema some of the things I do.
I love it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so here we go. We got John Buscema, Alan Davis, Alex Toth, and Neil Adams. There we go. Ray Heights, Mount Rushmore of pencilers right there, Chris. I'm getting
today,
baby. Today.
Right, yeah, today, yes.
The ever growing, ever evolving.
We want to know, are there any characters out there that you would love to work with that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Oh, I said that at the top of this interview.
Yeah.
The Teen Titans.
Teen Titans, number one.
Or Nightwing. You know what I mean?
Nightwing in general, okay.
Ooh, you on Nightwing would be hard, man. I would love that.
You know what? I get told that a lot. I get told that a lot. Maybe DC ain't heard it.
Oh man, okay, we got to make a campaign for that. That would be hard right now.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I know, even though I would like to do like the big burly type characters, whatever. I know, just facts, I excel at the nimble, younger, agile characters, right? I know that's what I excel at. It's not that I can't do a Hulk, but, that it is what it is. And I think I'll do a nice Hulk, but nope, it'll be that. But I also love like that B and C and D list characters.
Okay.
Those characters I love. So just on DC, I want to work on Blue Devil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So back in the Bronze Age and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Blue Devil and Blue Beetle were my faves back then.
Wow.
All right. So now shifting gears to comic art.
No.
Okay.
Wait, Chris.
Okay.
I want to ask you guys, right?
Okay.
You guys interviewing me. I'm interviewing you.
Okay.
If you guys familiar with my work, what would you like to see?
Dude, honestly, I want you on Ms. Marvel for myself personally. I love Ms. Marvel.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something after this. I need to hear what Mike's got to say, Chris. So,
dude, it's obvious, Batman, dude.
Right?
Really?
Batman, Detective Comics, and then you said Nightwing, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, definitely Batman or Detective Comics, man. I'm trying to get more black artists on that.
Well, I would love to do the Signal.
Oh, okay.
The Signal would be hard.
Yeah, the Signal. Man, I would really love to do that. As a matter of fact, DC just released, I think, their Black History Month joint, and one of the homies, Sean Damian Hill, did a Signal piece.
Okay.
And I was like, what? Okay, this is great. I'm feeling it.
The reason why I say Batman and Detective Comics, man, you get on the run on that, man. He's like Hall of Fame jacket, pretty much. So like,
I always wish that. Right.
Yeah, so I always wish that upon the brothers. Like, hey, man, get on Batman, do a 12-issue run on Batman,
right,
bro.
yep.
Do that shit.
I love it. It was like when I did the X-Men. That was when I changed. You know how you change status? You go from a Yugo to like, I don't know, a kind of Prelude. Or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you step up in level.
Right.
When I was on X-Men Blue, it shifted. Again, that was my friend Mark Penicia who put me on, right? And boom, that was the thing.
That's a legacy character that people are going to just buy that because they just love that character.
Exactly.
And Batman, I think, is like a third of all the DC IP, like in revenue and stuff. So like,
but it is one of the most popular superheroes. Like, period. I think they did some kind of poll and he was number one.
Yep. So can we take Miss Marvel? Yes.
Okay. So, during the pandemic, I was supposed to do a special issue of Miss Marvel. Yeah. As part of like some special event. I can't remember. And I was starting to do layouts and stuff like that. And then that's when they did the pencils down order. So they stopped a lot of projects and kind of chopped things down. But yeah, I was actually actively doing a Miss Marvel kind of tie-in.
I would have loved it, man.
Man,
yeah.
So
Hopefully
Chris,
another time.
you in rhythm, see, Chris?
Right?
Yeah.
See, so now shifting to comic art.
Okay.
More specifically, comic book pages. We know it's a booming business.
It
so we
is.
want to know how you decide which ones you're going to keep and which ones you're going to sell.
I'm willing to sell everything.
Yes.
That's me. Partially because I draw such a small size. Now, are there pages where I'm like, I'm not sure. Should I let this go? Should I hold on to it? Whatever. Like the Dr. Aphra pages. I don't have any. And I'm gonna tell you. So another shout out to another comic shop, Black Star Collectibles.
Black Star.
Black Star.
Yep.
Right. So Black Star actually owns an 11x17 original Dr. Aphra page.
Oh.
I gifted it to him because I've known one of the owners ever since he was a kid.
Oh, wow.
I was best friends with his older brother in high school.
That's cool.
Wow.
Ray, we're going to be best friends, so I expect to pay in 30 years.
Hey, bring it. You know, the way things are going, it might be 15.
Right? Hey, let's go.
So what about the like? Do you have a rep or anything like that? Do you sell your pages independently? Website? How does all that work?
They
At
come to
cons?
me. At cons.
Okay.
And people ask me for stuff all the time. You know, but I'm selling anywhere between. Sometimes I'll have a sale where I'm like, oh, it's $50. But most of the time they sell, you know, 2, 3, maybe even 400 to 600. Some of the Dr. Aphra pages sold for like $600. So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I haven't come across a page, although that Dr. Aphra page, those couple 11x17 pages, I probably should have kept.
You should have.
I should have kept, but no, you know, maybe I'll start keeping them. As a matter of fact, my idea about keeping pages and maybe doing some larger pages or whatever, that's changing.
Okay.
But I was willing to let go of everything and anything because I do so much digitally. I ink digitally.
Ray, do you have any pages from other artists that you like collect, or do you do that?
I want to do that. The only page I own, and it's not a sequential page, it's just a piece of artwork, is by Mike Waringa.
Okay.
It's a Spider-Girl sketch that is all around on the net. If you look it up, it's Spider-Girl. And I own the original, and it was a gift from one of my favorite art buyers.
Let's shift gears. This is the stash portion of the show. So talk about collecting and collectors. Do you still collect comics? Do you have a comic book collection still?
I gifted most of them to my son.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I gifted most to my son. Every now and then I'll pick up a comic and hold on to it. Mostly it's ones that I get as comps, like trade paperbacks. But no, you know.
So nothing from back in the day that you kept? No bangers from back in the day?
Well,
anything like that?
I actually have, what is it? Devil Dinosaur #1.
Okay.
And that was a gift. So most of the stuff I kept of that caliber were gifts. I didn't buy them. So somebody gifted me a bunch of cool old school comics, and they definitely wanted that one in my collection because of Moongo and Devil Dinosaur.
Right.
So yeah, that I would say that is one of my prized ones right now.
So
Spawn #1.
Oh, Spawn #1, baby. There we go.
Yeah.
I argue that's Todd McFarlane's most significant book. I know people may say it's ASM 300 and all that, but like he created Venom, but he doesn't own Venom, you know, and his character helped start a whole new independent company that's the most popular and pound for pound the best comic book publisher in the business. They win all the Eisners. It's just a matter of which Image story wins it, right? A lot of the stories that people that win those Eisners, they're not the most popular stories. It's just like the Oscars. It's like, okay, I never heard of that. Okay, good.
When I explained it to my wife, I was like, the Eisners is basically comic Oscars.
Yes.
And I mean in almost every way.
Yes.
First of all, arguably, And I think Alan Moore did some stuff on Spawn and a few other people. Those were cool issues, but to me, maybe it's as the independent creator love or whatever you want to call it, that first 12, that's it.
That's
exactly.
When, right?
Essential.
When did Spawn's power meter disappear? I'm thinking, how cool is that? Like, there's a countdown to the end of your powers, and then you go to hell, right? Like there's a countdown. How compelling a story is that? And he's conserving, he's using his military training, he's doing all the stuff, everything. He's letting his suit, the ectoplasm suit, take all the damage. He's not using his actual powers, right? Just to conserve until he has to.
Right.
And I thought, how dope was that idea? Good for you, Todd. You know what I mean?
Ray, I had a follow-up collecting question because I need more books signed by you. So when are you going to be at another con?
Oh, that's a good question.
Get down to brass tacks.
I do have to talk to my good friends at Comic-Con Revolution.
Oh yes, please. Let's go. Okay.
We'll be there.
Yep.
I'm probably going to see if I can snake my way back in there. I've known Sigriano and the cats that run that show, so.
We love that show.
Hey, Ray, that would be rad. I only have Moon Girl and Devil Dragon 31 signed by you so far, so I need that, the Dr. Aphras. I'm going to try to break your hand next time I see you.
Bring everything. I haven't been on a long run. I don't think I've been on a run longer than 3 issues. But I would say 65 to 75% of the issues I've done, people really love them. So when I do work, when I do hit, people feeling it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's good. That's great, because it's like, if you don't work a lot and everything you do, most people hate, that's not cool.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
That is not good at all. So I would rather do 3 to 4 books a year, pop up, do a cover, do some short stories or whatever, and I'm on the shelf and people are like, oh yeah, you did something here, that's cool with me.
Hell
yeah. So one person basically said, I probably have books or work of yours that I didn't know you did. Happens all the time.
Yep.
That's why whenever we go to a convention, we always do our homework first, so we're not
exactly.
Man. Yep. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, baby.
Yeah. Oh, look at that! A little sugar-free.
You know what I mean?
A little sugar-free.
So Ray, we're wrapping up, but before we let you go, is there anything you're working on you want the Stash fam to know about?
Working on a few things. I don't know if it's said. I'm working on some work for Alice in Danger.
Okay.
And she's got some cool stuff that we're working on. It's the first work that my new studio Sky Tiger, is doing together.
Studio Sky Tiger.
That sounds rad.
Yes. It doesn't got that like anime.
Yes.
There you go. I'm going for that. Shooting for that. So that's our first work. I got several incredible assistants, and I can't wait to see what they do. They're all, I would say most of them they either graduated from our degrees in animation or graduated from the Hubert School.
Okay.
So, yeah. I mean, and I'm like, all of these folks want to work with me.
Hey. So when does Sky Tiger related stuff start coming out?
That depends on Allison, but we also are going to be jumping back into Midnight Tiger, my character. We're going into production with that, because the problem is, and I'm putting that out there, is that while I'm working on Midnight Tiger, I'm not making any money. But the people who, the light company and the water bill, they don't give a crap.
Exactly.
Right? So I got to take on freelance gigs to make that happen. And as you all know, and I'm sure you talk to enough pencilers to know, we take longer than writers do.
Right.
Like I can't sit and write 3 books a month or draw 3 books a month.
No.
You know what I mean? I'm not Jack Kirby. I'm not even John Romita Jr. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it. I tried to do 2 books in a month and it broke me.
Damn.
I was working on Superb for Lion Forge, and I was working on X-Men Blue at Marvel. And it broke me. I'm not doing that ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Never again. There's some other things kind of swimming about. Some people want to reach out. Like I talked to some DC folks that might be interested in doing something. I don't know what's going to happen, but fingers crossed. I'll let you know.
We hope it all comes through, Ray. That we want it all to work out for you, man.
Me too.
Ray, this was dope, man. It was dope chilling with you. Reminiscing about Gardena and Jeffrey's comics, man.
Yes.
I love it, man.
Yes.
We hope you come back. We hope you consider the Stats Bros Network home away from home. Anything you
invite me back.
Now we're best friends. It's awesome.
I love it.
Well, that's all for our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe and hit that like button. We are the Stats Bros. I'm Mike, speaking for Chris and Ray Anthony Height. We are out. Peace.